Hello everyone, welcome, happy Sunday of Rhinebeck weekend. I'm home today. I was up in the Rhinebeck area for the last 2 days, and this video is going to be a recap of my experience. So this isn't a normal episode for new viewers. My normal episodes will show a lot of knitting and stash acquisitions and a little chat about what I'm thinking and what I'm thinking, my dream knits and all of that, and color, why I chose the colors I chose, all the knitting process. That's normal. Today is not going to be normal. Instead, this is going to be about my experience at Indie Untangeld on Friday, October 19th, and my experience at Rhinebeck on Saturday, October 20th. And I'm going to share with you, it's kind of a haul video, so I have some stuff here and on the floor where I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about what I saw, what I liked, what I didn't like. There wasn't a lot I didn't like. And why I made the choices that I did in terms of purchases. And yeah, so let's get to it. I have on my lap a notebook, and it may end up, I may exchange it with some of the stuff on the bed. But I have a notebook so that I can keep track of all the things that I want to tell you. So if I look down at my notebook, that's what's going on. All right. So first up, Indie Untangeld. So Indie Untangeld, if you're not familiar, for the unfamiliar, I'm going to tell you briefly, is an event organized by a woman who I know her first name is Lisa. I don't know her last name. I'll pop it on screen. She has been running it. I think this is the 5th one, but if I'm wrong, I will correct that on screen too. And basically it was an event that was a spin-off from Rhinebeck, because Rhinebeck is very tough to get into if you are a new yarn vendor. So she created this space for those yarn people who couldn't get into Rhinebeck, and she made it on the night before Rhinebeck so that people could, shoppers like me and you could see and experience the yarn in person. So so this year, I went last year. I only have last year to compare it to, and this year it was a new venue, and she had a new ticketing process, and it worked fabulously from my perspective as a shopper. It was really, really, really awesome. Last year, so I'll give you a point of comparison. Last year, it was like being on a New York City subway, or probably a subway anywhere. I mean, not anytime, but anywhere during rush hour. I was jam-packed in the aisles. I remember the grocery girls were there last year, and they were, of course, like, people swarmed to them, and there was nowhere for them to be. They were standing in the middle of the aisle, basically clogging up you went around in a circle. So clogging up the aisle, and it wasn't their fault. It was just the venue was really too small for the amount of people that were there, and the booths were super crowded. It was hard to get in. So that was last year. This year, so much better. Beautiful venue. I wish I had a picture. Maybe if I can find a picture online from the Indie Untangeld website, I'll pop it on here. And she also instigated instituted a new ticketing system where she had a limited number of people who would be admitted during a 2-hour period. And what I didn't know until I got there was that you really only had those 2 hours to shop. So if you had a ticket for 1 o'clock, you had to clear out by 3. And if you had a ticket for 3, you had to clear out by 5. If you had a ticket for 5, you had to clear out by 7. And then 7 to 8, I think she had, those were free. If you went 7 to 8, that was free. And you just had to make sure you had a ticket. And I don't know. I mean, I guess at 8 o'clock things wrapped up. So I had the 3 to 5 slot, and I'm kind of glad I did, actually, because I got there maybe at about 2:45. There was a line of all the other 3 o'clock people, and that was fine. I parked in the satellite lot, and the shuttle buses were very fast, and drove you right over there. So you parked in the satellite lot, jumped on a shuttle bus, shuttled on over, and that was great. It was first time it was a school bus. The second time it was like a community shuttle. And it also went through downtown Saugerties, which is an adorable little town. If you're unfamiliar, I'll post a couple pictures. Yeah. So anyway, I was in the 3 to 5 window. I really am glad. It looked like the 1 o'clock slot might have been a little crazier, but by the time I got in, so I was probably 3/4 of the way towards the end of the line, like almost at the end, because I got there pretty close to 3, and it was very civil. I mean, knitters are just really awesome people, and just really, everyone was super polite, and I made some friends in line, which was really fun. And I was able to get around very easily. There were very few booths that I felt like I needed to circle back to and before I could get into them. And in the 2-hour time slot that I was there, 3 to 5, at 3, booths were probably most crowded, but I didn't have any trouble like connecting with dyers, like talking to them. The only booth that I felt, the booth that I don't remember which one it was, the one that Caitlin Hunter was in, I couldn't get in at first, but then later I could get in. And also Andrea Mowry was there. She was in the Spin Cycle booth, and that was a little chaotic. Like, I think sorry, excuse me. I know it's like a really nice events like these are nice for people like Andrea Mowry and Caitlin Hunter to hang out at. Hey, organizers, they need their own space because sticking them in a yarn booth, we can't shop if they're in a yarn booth. And after you've said hi to them and you're like, hey, hi, love your designs, whatever other stuff that you're talking about. Some people really want to hang out and talk with them, though. I'm there to shop, so though it's cool to see them and say, hey, nice to meet you, love your designs, I'm wearing whatever of yours. I mean, other people really want to hang and talk, so if you want to hang and talk, yeah, right in front of the yarn I'm trying to look at, not appreciated. But needless to say, it was really not too bad. It was way, way worse last year. I'm so appreciative that Lisa got a bigger venue, and that she instituted this ticketed release time too. I thought that was really well done, and hopefully, in doing that, not only was it a good experience for the shoppers, but it was also a good experience for the vendors. And hopefully they experienced, like, they didn't see a hit to their sales or anything. So yeah, I just remember being like a contortionist last year at Indie Untangeld trying to see stuff, and I ended up waiting till almost the end of the show, till the show was going to close, and then I circled back through. This was last year, and then I was able to get into booths, but this time so much better, and I saw everything that I went to see, and I really, really, really loved it. So now I want to tell you what I did. So this year, as also compared to last year I was all about the indie dyers, and I really, really I was super interested in the indie dyed wools and yarns, and I really wanted to work on a stash that's behind me. I wanted to build a stash that I could readily draw from anytime I felt inspired to make something either of my own, or to design something of my own, or to make something. This time around, I tried to be very intentional. I wanted to make intentional purchases, and I wanted to have intentional purpose for purchases. So I had a couple things in mind. I did not have any sweaters in mind necessarily that I felt must be next on my needle. But I did want to shop for sweaters quantities And I also had two other things that I wanted to make sure that I bought for. And one of them I'm going to talk about later. The other one I'm going to talk about now. There's this pattern out. I don't remember the designer. It'll all be on screen in a sec. But the pattern is for a mitt pattern, and it's a make-along right now to honor Day of the Dead. And the pattern is called Till Death Mitts. So I had just seen those this week on Instagram, and I love all things skeleton and skulls and just Halloween iconography this time of year, fall stuff. I really, really love that iconography. So I thought, I've been wanting to make mitts, and I've been circling around different mitt patterns, but this one I was like, yes, 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 yes. And I have a couple other friends who are also really into skulls and skeletons and bats and all these other things. So I thought, well, I'm going to make a pair for me, and I'm also going to make a pair for at least one of my girlfriends whose birthday is right around Christmas time. So I had that in mind when I went into Indie Untangeld, and I was hoping that I could find like a multicolor mini kit, but actually it was better than that. So let me put this down. Rather than a mini kit, I did see some mini kits, but the colors weren't quite as punchy as what I wanted. But I walked into the Asylum Fibers booth, which I have never had any of her yarn. I've never purchased any of her yarn before. But I see her on Instagram, and I actually met her and chatted with her. She loved the project bag I was carrying. I was carrying my Black Watch project bag with my Hue Loco Elton cardigan in it, because that was my knitting for standing in line and waiting. And it has an eyeball patch on it, which I'll put a picture online because it's way across the room over there and I don't want to get it. So she loved it and chatted with me about it, and we talked about patches. And I know that pins are huge, and Kristy Glass is really pushing stickers right now for your naggling bottles and your computers and all that. But we had a little patch chat, me and Steffi of I think it's Steffi of Asylum Fibers, and I said, patches are kind of cool and the way to go. More about that in a sec. So anyway, she was selling minis separately, so I was able to buy a bunch of minis. They were between $6 and $7 each, and they're all 87 yards. And oh my gosh, look at the sparkle. So some were sparkle, which is just so cool. But this pattern is bright colors, and it's some rainbow colors. So I did pick up one green speckle and sparkle. And I have all the color names here, which I will, I'll read through them. This is Door Hinge, this lovely orange. The teal sparkle is Hydrotherapy. It's a great name. The green multicolor is Chaos 2241. So I don't know if that's a specific thing, or maybe is that what she calls her accidental skeins, I'm not sure. And the blue semi-solid is called Sleepless. I love that. That's like Starry Night. Sleepless. I'm staring up at the night sky. And this deep purple is called Twinkle Toes? No, Flowing Freely. Flowing Freely. So yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to use these in what order. The pattern called for 4 colors in addition to a main color and then white, which she calls that her 5th color, but I sort of felt like white because it's the skeleton color. I wanted to make the skeleton white. So I'm going to, I'll show you later, but I did buy black and white yarns from someone else. Along the seam lines, I found that also Junkyarns, which is a indie dyer from, I'm not actually sure where she's from, but she goes by Raybot on Instagram. And this is her card. She's usually next to or with, sharing a booth with ShelliCan. At least that's what she was doing at Vogue Knitting Live. And this time they were right next to each other. I'm not It's not clear to me whether they were sharing or what, but it doesn't really matter. They were both there. But she also had minis, so I picked up 3 more, and these are all nameless minis. Because I was feeling like I needed a pink, and I needed something that was a little more yellow with the mix that I have. And again, I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm planning to make a couple pairs of these mitts, at least 2 pairs. So I may make some for my niece too, because she also really loves skelly stuff. So that might be her Christmas present. But yeah, so I don't know in what order, but you know, stay tuned. Stay tuned. In future episodes, I'll work through this. I'll work through this issue. So yeah, those were the only indie dyed yarns that I, in wandering around, that I picked up, and those were unintentional, though intentional. Like, I didn't intend to buy from those vendors, but I did intend to get some amount of mini skeins. And since they're relatively inexpensive purchases, I mean, I could have been really, really disciplined and just like picked the 4 colors that I thought I needed and just picked those, and then I would have spent $24 instead of more than I did here. But you know, I like options. I like options, and I didn't want to spend the time in Indie Untangled figuring out the colors that I was going to be putting together, and I wanted to be able to, I want opportunity to swatch and stuff, and all of those mini skeins are all 87 yards, and I think the max skein yardage usage for that pattern is around 80 yards. So I'm in good shape. I have enough for no matter which color order I go in, and I wanted to just keep all of that open. So I did do a couple pre-orders. So I did pre-order from ShelliCan, so that was how I ended up next to the Junkyarn booth and happened to see her minis. I love Junkyarn's color sense. I mean, it's really cool. So I did a pre-order with ShelliCan, and I got stickers. So these are super cool stickers. Not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. She threw this one in. I don't remember purchasing it, I don't think, but I think this is really a cute little icon. An octopus with balls of yarn, and this was, has this and on other things too, and yeah, I did buy 1 pin. I'm trying not to get too many pins because I don't really know what to do with them. Like, put them on my project bags, but then they fall off. I don't know, but I thought that was cute. This is not my Rhinebeck, or this is my Rhinebeck sweater. It's unknitted. Super cute, and very useful and very intentional buy was this lovely tote bag, and it has canvas straps, and I used it as soon as I got it. Pick that up at Green Mountain. I'll talk about that later. I got it and put it to use right away. I sat down and took all my purchases out of paper bags and put them on in this tote bag. It has 3 sections in it, which is kind of cool, so you could, three sweater quantities if you want. But anyway, all of the ShelliCan stuff, though it was specific to Indie Untangled, she is restocking her shop, I believe, tomorrow, on Monday, the Monday after Rhinebeck, and she said that there would be more of the tote bags in stock. She did sell out, but she will have more in stock. They're on order and they're coming in. I'm not sure if she's doing a pre-order, but you can check out her website. I have her, I'll pop, stuff in my show notes, as well as descriptions on screen when you need them. My other pre-order was from the Indie Untangled booth, and what Lisa of Indie Untangled does is she partners with different yarn dyers for Rhinebeck specific, Indie Untangled specific yarns. So she partnered with La Bien-Aimée, Black Elephant, and Julie Asselin. And I decided to buy the Julie Asselin yarn because it was a different, a new to me blend. And I don't know, I just liked it. Apparently it's a repeat color from last year. I don't remember it from last year. Last year I bought the Rhinebeck yarns. I bought 1 skein of it. This is called Road to Rhinebeck, which I think should be right side up. Yay! And it is a really cool blend. It's 75 merino, 15 cashmere, 10% silk. It feels amazing. It's 400 yards fingering weight, I think, though it's probably a pretty lush fingering weight. I bought 2 skeins thinking, here's how I operate when I go somewhere. 2 skeins will make a tegna. So 2 fingering weight skeins will make a tegna. So I know this is going to be drapey because of the silk, and I was like, well, if nothing else, I can make a tegna. I don't know what else I'll do with it. There are also a lot of 2 skein shawl patterns out there. So I thought, I don't know. This seems like a drapey cloth. I know a tegna is benefits from drapiness. So so 2 skeins. 2 skeins of the Julia Asselin Fino Road to Rhinebeck, which is inspired by pavement with the bright colored fall leaves on it. And we've had a lot of rain in this region, and the leaves, it was pretty flat colored upstate. Here it's a little more colorful because our leaves are still turning. So as the leaves turn and then we get a rainstorm, all the leaves fall to the ground. The other thing I bought that I just adored is the Stash Rabbit enamel pin. And this is Indie Untangeled's, icon. And I really love a pre-order because that really just de-stresses you. Like if you're able to pre-order, I didn't have to worry about rushing to those 2 booths to get stuff, because you could certainly do that if you wanted. You could certainly buy on premises if you wanted. And they had stock still. So I really appreciated the pre-order. I thought that was really rockin'. Like I loved not being worried about getting a tote bag, because I recognize that like having a nice tote bag to put my purchases in. Everyone appreciates the fact that you have your own bag, whether it's a festival specific tote bag or just a tote bag that cotton or canvas, or even the nylon tote bag, whatever works for you, a backpack. Like everyone really, really appreciated that you didn't want a bag to carry your stuff around in. And last, I have two more purchases still from there. My one booth that I wanted to make sure that I got to before I went to Indie Untangeld, it was at the top of my list, was Spin Cycle Yarns. I have been aware of them for a while. They are in the Northwest region of the United States, and though I don't remember, I know they've been in festivals before, but I don't remember either being aware of them or knowing that they were in the same place that I was in. So with their yarn, you can watch, there's a couple Kristy Glass interviews of them. They're such cool women. I love that it's a women-run business. If I have the story right, you can watch their entire story on Kristy Glass's channel. If I have the story right, they have their own, they have basically, like, I think they own a mill. They own a mill and they do their own dyeing. So they do their own spinning and they do their own dyeing. And I believe they partner with, it's basically like a sheep to skein. They partner with farmers. They don't have their own sheep, as far as I know. I might have that wrong, but I don't think so. So it's really cool, like the way that the way they do business and the yarns that they make. They're really super unique to them type of yarns. So I was aware of the Weekender sweater from Andrea Mowry, which they made a little pin. I've been aware of it because it's on all over Instagram and everyone's talking about it. So that was her design that she released for Rhinebeck. And on the pin from Spin Cycle Yarns, this is like a little stylized version of it. So it's pretty cute. So I did get that pin. And a lot of people made that sweater. I saw a lot of that sweater both on Friday and Saturday. It didn't fit for me in the cards. I'm not saying never, but I have a lot on my needles right now and a lot of plans with my knitting that don't include that sweater. But what I did learn from that sweater was that Andrea Mowry had used the spin cycle yarns, which tend to have a lot of variation in color, she had used those for the color work, and that gave that sweater, though I think she did 3 colors in it, if I'm right. I might be wrong, so I haven't really looked at the pattern, but in the color work, she used the spin cycle variegated yarns and ended up like with this really beautiful multicolor pattern. So I thought, well, that idea could be taken anywhere. So like I could make this sweater that I have on right now, the Humulus sweater, using spin cycle yarns for the color work part, and end up with this variation of color, which would be really cool and interesting. So I went in with this idea that I was just going to buy accent colors for future colorwork sweaters. Yeah, as yet unknown colorwork sweaters, because I have no idea what colorwork sweaters will be in my future. But I just picked colors that I really, really liked. And as far as I know, I think this could be the Rhinebeck color. I'm not sure. She did say she had a Rhinebeck color, and there was a whole big shelf of this. And this one's called Stay Out of the Forest. I just loved it. I think it's so pretty. And this particular skein, like the cool thing about seeing their yarn in person is that you get to pick the actual skein, because the skeins will vary quite a lot from skein to skein. And this particular one had high contrast. So some of them weren't as high contrast, some of them were a little bit more orangey, but I really liked the high-low contrast here, the high between that red brick color and the soft peach color. Yeah. And then I just kind of perused all the other yarns that they had, and I ended up with this turquoise, which is called Tangled Up in Blue. And I got this one called Truth Bomb. This one also seemed quite unique to me among the other skeins of Truth Bomb. It seemed like it had a little bit more gold in it than the others. And last I got Cataclysm. So this is like this tealy, more tonal than contrasty. So I definitely have some colors here. I'm going to hold them all up together that will work really well together. My cat's exploring my purchases right now. If you hear crinkling, oh, there he is, Rue, making an appearance on the channel. So pretty. Yeah, so anyway, I could definitely combo these up. I don't know that I would put all 4 together, but there are definitely some that would work really well together, like these 3, or these 3, right? So yeah, I'm really, really pleased. Or I could do 2s, I could do these 2 and these 2. The yarn is really expensive, which is why I sort of attacked it the way I did, if attack is the right word. These are sport weight, and they're 200 yard put-ups, so, and it's cheap to skein. It says that right on the label. So yeah, that's my spin cycle. And that booth was pretty crazy, as I said before. It was just really slammed with a lot of people looking at the yarn. I have no idea what the 1 o'clock people saw versus what I saw. I felt like I had a lot of choice. They were sharing a booth with, it looked like a share with Magpie Fibers, so that was kind of confusing because I crossed over into Magpie Fibers without knowing it, and then went back over into Spin Cycle. And then also the way they had the table set up where you were doing the checkout, one was one shop and the other checker was the other shop. And you know, I love you knitters. You all just want to chatter and, you know, take your time, and at least at this event it felt like that was fine. I didn't feel like I didn't stand behind in line with someone really chattering away at the checker and go, goodness gracious, hurry up, I'm gonna lose opportunity. I didn't feel that way at all, which is really nice. So thank you, Lisa. My last purchase there was, I'm not sure who the vendor was, and I've tried really hard. I can't seem to find my receipt. I want to say it was Ritual Dyes, but I'm not sure. So I want to just show you what I bought. It was, this isn't yarn, but it's yarn related. I bought a patch. So going back to what I was saying to Stephanie of Asylum Fibers about patches, I love putting patches on my project bags. So instead of pins, so here's one. I'll show you my original gray fringe field bag. So this is a patch I bought on Ravelry, and it's just a big dark fairy patch. So I thought that I would put not this one on this one necessarily, but I have two other fringe field bags that I don't have anything on, and I keep one pin on each of them just because, so there's something to decorate it, and then I know that it's mine if I'm in a crowd with other people, just to give it some individuality. So anyway, yeah, this is gonna go. I think I'm gonna see how it looks, but I think I'm gonna put it on my white bag. Not sure, but I love it. Love, love, love. And it's got an iron-on adhesive, so if you're not handy with a needle and thread, I tend to iron them in place and then stitch them down anyway, just so that I make sure it doesn't peel back. So besides that, I bought a stitch marker of the same design. Again, I think this was Ritual Dyes. I'm not sure. If anyone knows, please, if this is your stuff, please comment down below, or if you know, if you took note of the purchase, or where you purchased it. Even my receipt didn't really, I couldn't find it. And then this beautiful, beautiful moth stitch marker. And then something kind of cool happened. The woman who was checking me out, and this might be her stuff, I'm not sure. I didn't think to ask. She said to me, "You're my first sale today, so I'm giving you something extra." And she pulled something out of her pocket and put it into my little bag. And I didn't see what it was until I got home, and it's actually a second hand stitch marker. So I got two of these. I am so excited. Because I love all things that are sort of occultish and, like mystical stuff, as well as like, my Halloween iconography too. But overall, super enjoyable event. I'm just going to go back to my notes just to see if there was anything that I wanted to share with you. Oh, I want to say this about kits. So if you watch Kristy Glass the way I do, she talks a lot about kits and how much she loves them because her blood sugar's low, and she talks about all of that, which is all perfectly valid. But there's something else about kits, which I want to just tell you. Those crowded booths, when you really just want to buy some yarn, and there's a plastic bag back there, which he's just obsessed with right now. And he's crinkling it, and it's adorable, but also kind of annoying. So kits are really a great way to grab and go. Like, that's what's awesome about kits. Like, and that happened to me on Saturday. I ended up with a kit, which I will tell you about in a sec. But I have a note on my Indie Untangeld page to tell you that kits are really awesome for crowded booths when you just want to grab some yarn and keep moving. So, yay, kits. Talked about the intentional purchases. I wanted to just explain a little bit more about why. I wanted to tell you about Lavender Lune, because I love, if you're a returning viewer, I love Lavender Lune. I love her yarn. I love her color sense. But there's something about when I was making my intentional purchases, I wanted to make sure I was buying yarn that I can't readily get online. But the yarns that I can readily get online, I wanted to be able to look at, because I wanted to file that away for future purchases, because I have a limited budget, like I'm sure many of us do. I don't have a few grand to just drop on every single bit of yarn that I see and I like. I just don't have that kind of income stream. So I had to be really mindful of my purchases so that I wasn't going to run out of money, or maybe eat spaghetti for the next couple weeks while I try to recoup from this event. So I didn't go over my budget at all, which I'm proud of. So I was just, as I was thinking about what I was going to buy, I was thinking a lot about the online marketplace and thinking a lot about what I could buy readily from the online marketplace. And I think that one of the things that really became clear to me over the last couple weeks, and especially it just kind of got validated by Indie Untangeld and by Rhinebeck, is that there are a lot of choices, a lot of choices. There's a lot of designers making amazing patterns. There's a lot of indie dyers making beautiful yarn. And, you know, there's a lot of like really awesome sheep to skein vendors too, as well as commercial yarns that are gorgeous and deserve a shout out, and, you know, some knitting time too. And with so many choices, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. And, you know, it sort of makes like it makes me pause and think about what makes this vendor unique, and why is it that I really need to buy this person's yarn. And sometimes it could be something as simple as just that color, or even that skein of that color. So I did see, like, Lavender Lune was in Indie Untangeld, and it was really amazing to see a bunch of her yarn in one clip, like in one shot, because normally I'm looking online and I'm buying from her online, because I think she's in Minnesota. She's in one of the central northern states. So yeah, I tried really hard not to buy more indie dyed yarn in general, because I have so much, and it's all in this cupboard behind me. I have a few hundred skeins of indie dyed yarns in the 4 normal bases that they do: singles bases, 75-25 superwash nylon, 80-20 superwash nylon, and mohair. Yeah, I think in fingering weights anyway. So yeah, so I sort of pretty much avoided those and spent my time focusing more on the sheep to skein, more rustic style yarns. So see, Ellie of Skein Deer, I'm listening, because she talks a lot about that. Okay, so the highlights for me, yarn in person, was besides Spin Cycle, the purchases that I made, was also Lavender Lune, Hue Loco, because I have not gotten a chance to really look at Hue Loco up close. YOTH Yarn. But YOTH Yarn, gorgeous yarn. I had some green in my hand that I was holding on to, that I was like, should I get a sweater's quantity? And then I thought, you know what? I can get this yarn easily online, so I'm going to put this back down and leave it. So I did that. And then mYak was another one, or mYak, if that's the way you say it, that I really enjoyed seeing and filed away information for future. Okay. So, also the lounge and restaurant, like, counter where you could order food and beer and wine was beautiful and not crowded, and it was easy to get a seat, and I would have hung out if I didn't have dinner plans. So I have a friend who lives right in that area, and I spent the evening and next morning with him instead of hanging out at the knitting venue. So that was nice. It was nice to connect with him and see what he's up to. Okay, I'm ready for Saturday. Are you ready for Saturday? So Rhinebeck Saturday, I went in a little late. I was trying to be strategic about how I was going to shop. And I know that there are a couple of different minds. One is get there right away, get your purchases, get in, get out. And certainly a lot of people, that works for a lot of people. And I could have done that, but I wanted to go a little later and take advantage of what I perceived as that 2-hour window of time when people are eating. So I intentionally got there at noon, which means you park kind of far, but I didn't mind that. I didn't mind the walking, and I was all, psyched up anyway. And by the time I got into the barns, they weren't too crowded. So, but then there was a noticeable difference around the 2 o'clock window of time. So on my list of things that I wanted to purchase was, returning viewers will know that I have a shawl design that Long Island Yarn and Farm commissioned from me, and it was debuting in their booth this weekend. So I had decided before I went to Rhinebeck that I wanted to buy 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn from Long Island Yarn and Farm and make my own shawl, because though I made one it was for them. It's their shawl. So I wanted my own version. So I was in the booth. It was crowded. I couldn't get to the yarn. And I looked up on the top of the shelf and there were kits. And I thought, those two colors look really good together. And so I yanked them off the shelf, and that was what I ended up buying. And then what they did, so this is my kit, 2 fingering weight. I'm going to do a low contrast version of my shawl, which I've popped it on screen by now, so you're able to see the shawl if you're a new viewer. And I picked up, this is a slightly different, oh no, it's the same, it's citrine. Oh, I didn't realize that. This one seems more heathered than the one that I knit with, though I might be wrong, I'm not sure. This has a lot of high-lows subtle, low contrast, like with a little bit of white in there. And then I bought pink clove, which is a color that's really popular for her. And these are alpaca silk blends. So actually, I lied. This is an alpaca silk blend. This is an 80-20 alpaca silk blend. Returning viewers, you must be so tired of me talking about it. 80-20. Called citrine, and she gives you a little stone of citrine attached to it. And pink clove is a 70% alpaca, 25% merino, and 5% icicle. So it has a very subtle sparkle in it. Very hard to see on screen, but easier to see in person. So yeah, those two are gonna be my own, my shawl design that I sold to them called the Brewster shawl. They named it, and they wrote a story about it. And yeah, so I'm excited because oh my gosh, this one especially, this alpaca silk, it is so soft and so amazing and just yummy yarn. And so excited because this is going to just be like a really nice neutral shawl. I realize that I don't have a lot of neutral shawls, so this will be a nice neutral shawl for me for my collection of shawls. So I bought those from her, and I could not resist this guy, this llama pillow. I'm just gonna put it in my craft room. I don't have any other. This is kind of outside the spectrum of my normal mode of decorating. It's a little kitschy. I don't tend to like kitsch. Oh, my shawl design is on my board still right there. Gotta clean that design board up because that design is in the bag. I gotta work on the next one, the black. Wait, I'm not so good at this. I'm not a pro yet. That's my next thing to work on after I get the Long Island cardigan design done that I'm working on. I want to say I bought something else from her. Oh, I bought some lip balm. Oh, and it turns out, like, okay, designers make no money unless they're Caitlin Hunt or Andrea Mowry and sell a ton of patterns. But like, as a designer, I don't make any money on my on my patterns. Like, it's awesome when someone buys one, and I'm so grateful. Maybe my stocking patterns paid for itself by now. I'm not sure because my stocking patterns are my you wouldn't know it looking at the project pages, but my stocking patterns are my biggest sellers. They just go, especially this time of year, October, November. They just go, those just fly off the shelves. But no one makes project pages. No one makes project pages that are making them. So I assume, they're working out for them. I don't ever hear. Of course, I support all my patterns. So if you ever have a problem with my pattern, please reach out and I will get back to you with an answer that will hopefully make sense to you. But yeah, so we don't make any money. But it turns out there is a tiny little perk. I did get a 15% discount as a designer, and now that I know that that's something that yarn vendors do, I may ask more often. I might say, hey, I'm a designer. I have a design shop. I'm thinking about designing, and can I have a discount? So I got a little discount, so that was kind of cool on some yarn. Okay, what did I do next? So next, I want to tell you about my impressions of Rhinebeck. this time around. There were a couple things I noticed this time around that I didn't notice last time around. And my history with the New York sheep and wool is that when I went to college in upstate New York, not too far from New York sheep and wool Rhinebeck area. And it was in college that I learned how to knit. So or like just before college, and then I knitted, you know, just for stress release and stuff while I was in college. And I had gone to the Sheep and Wool Festival a couple times. I didn't, you know, I went mostly for the animals. I didn't really go for the wool and yarn because I had kind of my local yarny sheep to skein people that I would shop with, and it was prices I could afford. So I really haven't gone back as a knitter with a capital K, and last year was the first time I had gone back. I had gone back another time while I was in grad school, and I took a felting class and learned how to felt, which was really fun. And then I just went for the class and left because I just had no money. I was really, very, very broke and single mom at the time, so I just didn't want to be tempted and spend money that I didn't have. But last year I went. And compared to this year, what I noticed this time around was that there was a lot more fiber and spinning equipment than I noticed before. And it seemed like the other thing that I really appreciated this time around was that in the barns, like the barns were sort of thematic. So you would go into one barn and there would be like spinning, fiber, spinning, fiber, spinning. And then the next barn was alpaca blends, alpaca yarn, alpaca, llama. Like all the camelids, except not cashmere. That was in another barn for some reason. So that was cool. It seemed like there was more, maybe not more indie dyers, but more yarn companies being influenced by indie dyers. I noticed that there was a lot more superwash in the yarn booths that were at Rhinebeck, and a lot more brighter colors and a lot more color variation. Because in years past, like a lot of the yarns in the commercial companies are very safe colors, like sort of those natural, neutral, like, you know, navy red, dark green, camel, brown, ivory, black. Colors that, you know, never go out of style. Like you can wear something made out of those colors anytime from 100 years ago to now, or 100 years in the future probably, and you're going to be fine with those colors. So if you're making something that you intend to be an heirloom, those are your colors. Well, there's probably a couple more that I'm not remembering right now. So I noticed that this time around there were a lot more color variations, and that sort of spoke to the power of indie dyers and how indie dyers have really taken a bite out of the market for commercial dyers or bigger dyers, like dyers that have much bigger operations. So that was kind of cool. I also discovered Barn 22. Last year I didn't know about Barn 22, but that's apparently where Green Mountain Spinnery is. And the only reason I found Barn 22 was because of them, because I was looking for their booth. I was wandering through the barns trying to find their booth, and then I whipped out my show guide and found them. So yeah, see, the show guide has a really cool map where you can find, like, it's coded by vendors, food, animals. And yeah, so I found Building 22, and it was really cool. That was where I found Finn Sheep, which was also featured on Kristy Glass, and Green Mountain. And Kristy Glass had recommended, I loved her guides. I always watched her guides before I went. She had recommended that we look at Green Mountain Spinnery maybe for sweater quantities, and I thought, you know, I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I walked in and fell in love with this yarn right here. Look at that color. It's such a beautiful, rich red. I think you get a better, yeah, that's like the depth of it. It's really gorgeous. So I know I want a DK weight for sweater quantity. This is a DK weight called Brickhouse. It's 180 yards, so I think I bought 6 skeins because I knew DK weight I need somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 yards to make a sweater for me. So yeah, I bought 6 skeins of this. I'm not going to hold them all because I won't be able to, but yeah. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but in my stash now. I also had been on the lookout going from barn to barn looking for a black and a white rustic sort of woolly wool, like non-superwash wool, fingering weight for the Till Death mitts. So I knew that I was going to pick up my bright colors from the Indie dyers, and that I would then buy my black and white from a sheep person, a sheep to skein sort of operation. And happily, Green Mountain Spinnery had what I was looking for. So those are my black and white fingering weight yarns. The white is called Blanco. It's 400 yard fingering weight, 100% fine wool put up. And this one is called Muy Oscuro. I think that's Spanish. I don't know, obscure. I'm not sure. If I figure it out before I edit, or before in my editing, I will put that on there. Put that on screen. Yeah, so those are my black and white, and I recognize that this isn't a black. It's kind of a brownie black, but that's fine. I was fine with that. I think it'll be really nice, and I'm excited to swatch and put together some colors and just see how everything looks for those. Since it's a mystery knit along, all the clues aren't out yet, so I'm gonna wait to buy that pattern until the end of the month, when all the clues will be out. Yeah, so those were my my Green Mountain Spinnery purchases. Let me look at my notes. Sorry. I may cut this out. Who knows? There was cashmere in Barn 22 as well. There were a couple cashmere vendors, if that's your thing. I decided not to get it because I think I'm gonna try to buy some cashmere at the Vogue Knitting Live event in January, and I have plenty to knit between now and then. So I thought I would just wait and maybe do Clinton Hill cashmere. I'm not sure. So I don't know. On the fence about cashmere, just because it seems like it's such a fragile, it's beautiful, supple, feels so soft, but it's a fragile yarn. I love cashmere. I have a ton of cashmere sweaters, but they're the first ones the moths go to. I don't know. They're really, really nice, but I just am not sure I want to spend time knitting such a fragile yarn, so I want to think about that a little more. And other than that, what can I tell you? I did have some really cool dyer, knitter, knit personality sightings. So of course I saw Kristy Glass, which I'll pop a screen on here of her. I saw Caroline from Dunderknits. She's a brand new podcaster who already has a massive following. I'm so impressed. I need tips, Caroline. Can we talk? Because I want a massive following. I don't want a massive following. I just would like to. I would like to see growth. I'd like to see a little growth. So I saw Lavanya Patricelli. I saw Andrea Mowry again. I saw Mina from the Knitting Expat. If you know who she is. I saw Fat Squirrel, Amy from Fat Squirrel. I saw her a few times. Ended up in line behind her in the book area. I also saw several other like knitting dyers or yarn dyers that I see regularly whenever I go to festivals, like Gabby of Once Upon a Corgi. I saw who else? The Junkyarn dyer. Handful of others were around. Bay Street Yarns, I saw her. I spotted her. Several others that all on the Podcasters Hill. So if you've never been, there's a hill where podcasters and generally knit world personalities hang out, all except Kristy. Kristy you can find in the middle of the fairgrounds. Just look for the crowd, you will find Kristy. And I didn't see Amy from Stranded Dye Works. I think, and I'm so bummed because she posed with other people wearing their Humulus sweater. I wore my Humulus sweater yesterday, and I wasn't part of it. And I think I just missed her because she was on Podcaster Hill in the morning. I think that's what happened. I mean, she'll recount her experience, of course, in a few days. We'll know more. But I'm bummed I missed her because she's one of my favorite podcasters, and I really wanted to just say hi and tell her how much I loved her podcast. And She talked about the mending in her last episode, and I have just also recently been doing some mending. I did some earlier in the year, and I did some mended t-shirts. You can see it on a couple episodes back, which I'll put down below in the box if you're interested. And I have been following on Instagram this author, Katarina Rodabow, I think is the way this book just got published, Mending Matters it's called, and I wasn't planning on buying it, but I went to the book booth and flipped through it and just decided I had to have it. It's really pretty, and it wasn't expensive as books go. It just has some really cool tips and tricks about different areas of your pants or shirts that you may want to cuff or patch rather. So like what happens if it's on the hem kind of deal. So I thought that was really, really awesome. And yeah, I just decided it's such a beautiful book. I had to have it. So that was all I bought. The other fun thing, this reminds me of when I was in the book booth. The other fun thing about shopping in person versus online is that you're just really immersed in that shopper experience. And it's really cool to listen to other people talk about what they see. Because when I was in the book booth, I was behind many people, like kind of reaching through and stuff. And a couple times there were people who were like, not this book necessarily, but flip. Don't need that. What do I need that for? I'm not buying that. And then turning around and explaining to their friend why it is they're not buying that. It was really fun. Like that, I really love like those little moments, those little snapshot moments of the shopping experience. So besides that, in that same booth, I passed by the Cocoa Knits and I bought these really cute yarn snips. I actually bought them more for sewing than for yarn. I have a really cool little tiny pair of scissors that I love to use for my yarn. But I really want snips for sewing because they're just really handy. You can get in close and stuff. And these are, I gotta take these out and show you because they're so beautiful. They're handcrafted. I mean, you can see the iron, the way that they shaped the iron. And new viewers won't know this, but I'm a metal worker. So I really I've worked steel. I really appreciate the ability to shape metal and the quality of it. So just really, really awesome. I just love them. I hope they work on thread as well as yarn. I know they were sold for yarn. And look at this cute little thing that you put the blade in. Isn't that great? Yeah. And the other thing I bought were some of these light bulb shaped stitch markers, and these are multicolored. I bought these because I have another collection, a little acorn that I bought from Brooklyn General Store at Vogue Knitting Live, and recently I used up all of them. Like every last one is on one of my projects. So I was like, I need more of those light bulb things, and I would have loved another acorn. These are awesome. These are, just so you can see, like really cool multicolored light bulbs. So I love color, so these will be fun. Add a little more. Oh, I saw the owner of Brooklyn General, Catherine. I saw her a couple times. She was at Indie Untangeld, and I did see her at one of the book signings. She was at the Pom Pom booth, I guess, because she's got the Moon Issues cover design as hers. So that was really cool. She looks so unapproachable. Like she doesn't smile much, and I don't know if that's just her personality. Like I have talked with her. I talked with her at Vogue Knitting Live, and she's really sweet and very efficient. And we chatted about different things. Her booth was not crowded there at all. And no one was really, I didn't really see anyone engaging with her, but maybe she was just really tired. I don't know. I also picked this up at Green Mountain Spinnery. I forgot to show it with that. It's a needle inventory, which I was sort of like, do I need it? And then I was like, you know what? I think I do need it. I need it. Who doesn't want to be more organized? I want to be more organized. Okay. I think that might bring to a close. It did rain, just a little bit of weather. It did rain at one point. There was a massive downpour. That was when I went into the book booth, and it was really crowded in there. But generally, we had very good weather. It was sunny and beautiful. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's my Rhinebeck wrap-up. From Rhinebeck, I went over to Jill Draper Make Stuff in Kingston, New York. Kingston is about 4 or 5 miles away. It's across the river, though, so you have to go up to a bridge and then come down. So it's like, I think you could probably shout across easier than you could drive up there. And the traffic getting out of Rhinebeck was just crazy. I have a picture of that Vincent the Knit Owl posted on his Instagram feed. It was really nuts, and I ended up making a wrong turn, which then put me back in traffic. I thought I was out of it, and I ended up back in traffic. But nevertheless, I made it to Jill Draper, no problem. I was over, I got there, her event was supposed to start at 6. I drove by at 5, and there was quite a nice crowd outside, so I decided that I would just park and hang out with the knitters, and it turned out that she had already opened her doors and was allowing people to shop. I was very intentional. I knew that going into, as soon as I got an invitation to Jill Draper last week, I thought I'm definitely going to buy a sweater's quantity of her yarn. And I'm wearing Jill Draper here in this, my Humulus is made out of the Rockwell base in the color Brownstone that I bought from Brooklyn General Store actually last year. And well, I think I bought it in the fall. Not in the fall, sorry, winter, in like January or February. And I bought it specifically to make the Humulus sweater. And I finished the Humulus sweater in June. So yesterday was the debut of this sweater. I have yet to wear it, though it's so cold today. So it's really nice to have this cozy sweater on again. This time I wanted to buy her Kingston base, which is a brand new base. And it is a DK weight. It's 100% Targhee. I think it's Targhee is the way you pronounce it. Wool. 270 yard put up. And 4 ounces. And the color that I purchased is, I think it's Kingston is the town she's in, and I think the color names were all street names or places in Kingston. So mine is called Elmendorf Street. It's this gorgeous deep purple with, look at all the color in there. You're getting a really good representation of what this looks like in the sun right now. Look at that. It's got like flecks of yellow and blue and gold and red. It's kind of like, she said on Kristy Glass Knits earlier in the week, when Kristy Glass was talking about Jill Draper, she says she uses all primary colors to make all of her colors. And this is like a really great example of that. So you can see the red, blue, and yellow primary colors. So I bought, because it's a big put up, it's a 270 yard put up, I bought 4 skeins, so that I ended up with that 1,000 to 1,200 yards that I know I need for a pullover. So yeah, super excited. Her shop was packed. It was the most packed venue that I've been to, but nevertheless, everyone was super sweet. There was a tiny little section of the of her studio that was set aside for Daughter of a Shepherd, and I was interested in purchasing a notions pouch from her, and I don't know that I'm going to use this for notions. I might end up using this for cosmetics or maybe some sort of travel bag. But she was there. She's lovely. I asked her the story. I had read the story on Instagram, but I couldn't remember. And I asked her the story about these pouches, and she said that, I hope I get this right, yarns that were from local. She's from UK, so local to her sheep people. The fibers were from them, and then the yarns were spun, and then it went to a small mill that made a bunch of tweeds. So there were a whole bunch of these. I got the medium. There were some that were smaller, some that were bigger. This just seemed like the perfect size. It's a good one skein project if I wanted to put a project in it. But yeah, I'm like, so I knit socks, I guess you could do. I'm not a sock knitter, but people who knit socks, this would probably be a good sock size. But I just had to have it. It was a little pricey, but I could tell. She told me that she had one that she'd been carrying around in her bag for years, and it still looks brand new. And I believe her. Like, I think I can see that this is like an heirloom quality piece, and it's lined with. Wait, let me take crinkle out. Whoops. It's lined with this beautiful rough sort of linen. I think it's a linen blend. It has some sheen to it, so I'm not sure if it's 100% linen or if there's some silk in there or nylon, something maybe making it really nice and sturdy. So a fully lined zipper pouch that's just adorable and a really nice keepsake from Rhinebeck, especially Rhinebeck 2018. So there you have it. That is my recap of, I don't think I forgot anything. Oh, wait, one thing. I did some Christmas shopping. I'm not going to show what I got because I bought some things for all my children, for my 3 sons and my daughter-in-law, and I bought for my one son's girlfriend. My third son is kind of not really serious with anybody, so if he gets serious with someone, they gave me a coupon, so I'm not going to show what I bought, but I do want to give him a shout out. I bought some items from Edema Creek Alpaca, and they are actually very close to where my mother lives in the middle, in Unadilla, New York. This is their cute little Christmas card. They're a lovely couple and so appreciative of the sale. They didn't look like they were having any trouble though. Like I waited in a long line to pay, and their booth was crowded. But yeah, so I can't show any of that stuff because my children do sometimes watch the podcast. I never know if they're going to watch it or not, so I don't want to show them. I don't want to spoil the surprise. But kids, you got something from Rhinebeck. You're getting in for Christmas this year. So something fun. So I did a little Christmas shopping too, which was fun. And then afterwards, so you get the FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. So I'm home today and I'm looking at my feed, and people are posting my Instagram feed, and people are posting stuff that they found. And someone was like, "Look at these adorable llamas. I'm going to have the best Christmas tree ever." And I was just like, "Oh, darn it. Darn." That would have been awesome. So next year, something to look forward to for next year. And there were some really cute ornaments, at least what this person found. So I guess that happens. You know, this is what happens. You miss out. Even if you go, you miss out. It's hard to see everything in the short period of time that we have when we're there. And you know, everything, it's very, very crowded. Everything takes a while. So eating takes a while. You're waiting in a long line. And the only thing I ate, though, I have to say, I didn't do the cider donuts because that's something I can get by my mom upstate. And I'm also not, I have like a stomach thing that eating anything that's sugary, where sugar is added to it, it's hard for me to digest. So I have to be really choosy about what I eat in that way. But I did have some hot apple cider, which was really nice. And I just bought water. And that was another good thing about going at noon, was that I ate before I got in there, and then I ate after I left. So I didn't have to deal with the food vendor situation, which can be pretty hairy, where you're really waiting a long time, especially in those peak hours. So yeah. There you go. That's my recap. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. If you made it this far, thank you for watching my recap. And I'll have show notes down below of everyone that I, hopefully if I remember everyone that I mentioned. If I forget anyone, just write me a comment. I read all the comments and I comment back. And if you like my channel, please subscribe and like this video. It'll help my little channel grow. My channel is like very, very slow growing, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And yeah, thank you so much, and hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and take care. Bye.